Sophie Cunningham's injury scared everybody half to death, man.
So Sophie Cunningham went down with what did not look like the greatest injury.
Sophie Cunningham's injury had everyone on edge, but what happened next shocked even the most seasoned fans. It wasn't just about a twisted ankle. It was about the soul of the Indiana Fever being put to the test. Sophie might not always be the face of the franchise, but she is undeniably the heart of this team. While many players in the WNBA shine in the spotlight, Sophie's power lies in what she does off the ball, in the trenches. This injury sent shockwaves not just through her teammates, but also through the Fever's entire identity. Indiana's head coach, Stephanie White, didn't just drop a typical injury update. She revealed a layer of what this team stands for: a gritty, relentless squad that thrives on physicality, emotion, and leadership.
She went down, rolled her ankle after landing on Ryan Howard's leg, which is not an ideal situation, not an ideal thing at all coming into the season.
The moment Sophie went down, it wasn't just a medical issue, it became a cultural crisis. The Fever are no strangers to challenges. From the star power of Caitlin Clark to the rising presence of Aaliyah Boston, Indiana has always had talent. But as Coach White delivered her updates on Sophie's recovery, it became clear. This was more than just missing a player for a few games. It was about the emotional anchor of the team being sidelined, and that hit deeper than any missed points or assists. Indiana wasn't just losing a role player, they were losing the fire that kept the furnace of their competitiveness burning.
Let's talk to this game. Number one, the starters for Indiana were okay, right? We ended up seeing a change in the starting lineup. We saw Sophie Cunningham get the starting nod. However, Sophie Cunningham had to go out of the game. I forgot what half that was, if that was in the first half or the second half. But Sophie Cunningham was coming down. She was in the air, coming down. She ended up rolling her ankle on Ryan Howard's foot. She went out of the game, was on the bench for a little while, and I believe she went to the locker room, but she did not return back.
You see, Sophie Cunningham isn't your typical superstar. She doesn't get the same media attention as the team's flashier players, but make no mistake, Sophie's impact is undeniable. It's easy to overlook the player who doesn't fill up the box score every night with 20-plus points, but her influence is felt in every corner of the game. Sophie's role on the Indiana Fever is something that can't be quantified in points or assists. It's the intangible force that propels the team forward. Sophie is the emotional thermostat for this squad. When the intensity drops, she cranks it up. When the game gets too comfortable, she steps in, and with one sharp defensive play or hustle move, she turns it into chaos. That's her role: the enforcer, the tone setter, the emotional engine.
Yes, Sophie Cunningham got injured, okay? She got injured. She landed on her ankle the wrong way. Let's go ahead and look through the play right now, all right? So here she is here, coming for the rebound, boom, and lands on Ryan Howard's foot the wrong way, and she was holding it, man.
But it's more than just being physical. Sophie doesn't chase headlines or glory. She chases hustle, grit, and winning. Every loose ball that hits the floor, Sophie is diving for it. Every screen set, Sophie's the one taking the hit. She's not the one taking all the shots, but she's the one doing all the dirty work that allows her teammates to shine. Sophie might not have the most glamorous role, but anyone who watches the Fever knows this. You can't win without her. When the game gets tough, Sophie's the one who will step in and set the pace, both physically and mentally. Without her, the Fever would lose their edge.
Now, at that moment, everybody was scared in the live stream, fam. I was holding my breath. My face was fixed a certain way that looked crazy. I mean, we were scared in there, okay? Now, the main thing is, yes, she twisted her ankle, okay? And she was out for the rest of the game.
The moment Sophie Cunningham went down, it felt like time stopped for a brief moment. She was coming down from a rebound, a routine play, when disaster struck. Landing awkwardly on Ryan Howard's foot, Sophie's ankle rolled in a way that instantly had everyone on the edge of their seats. Her face told the story of the injury, pain, frustration, and uncertainty. As the crowd held their breath, you could see it in her teammates' faces too. They were scared. The worst part was the uncertainty that followed. At first, there was a sense of denial around the team. Maybe she'll shake it off, some thought. But as Sophie limped to the bench, it became clear this wasn't just another bump in the road. The scans came back, and suddenly the reality set in. This wasn't just a sprained ankle. Sophie Cunningham, the engine of the Fever, was going to be out for an unknown period.
Yeah, just giving a different kind of look and seeing what we might be able to do from that standpoint with Sophie's energy in the starting lineup and with DB's production coming off the bench. So, we'll probably continue throughout the course of the week tinkering a little bit. But, preseason gives us a good opportunity to see what we like, because it's important to have a good starting group and it's important to have energy out and production off the bench.
Despite the pain, Sophie's immediate reaction was one of defiance. She was visibly frustrated, wanting to get back into the game, despite the obvious discomfort. This wasn't just a roll of the ankle, it was a hard hit to the Fever's identity. Sophie's absence would leave a hole in the team's emotional makeup. Coach White delivered the news with a calm demeanor, but there was no denying the weight of what Sophie's injury meant. Sophie isn't the one dropping 30 points, but she's the one who holds everything together. She's the one who pushes her teammates to keep going, even when things get tough. Losing her wasn't just losing a player, it was losing the heartbeat of the team.
Sophie's injury too, is there any update on that?
I don't think so. She was in there getting in a cold tub, so she keeps saying I'll be fine, so I trust her.
While Sophie's injury didn't exactly cripple Indiana's roster, it changed everything. The Fever are filled with talented players, but none of them bring the same combination of grit, intensity, and leadership as Sophie. Her absence created a void, one that wasn't as obvious as losing a high-scoring player, but was just as impactful. Without Sophie on the floor, the Fever lost their defensive anchor, their emotional energy, and their edge. Coach White and the team had to adjust on the fly. It wasn't just about playing without a key player, it was about shifting the whole culture of the team. Indiana had to reestablish its rhythm, find new ways to stay connected, and adapt to the energy that Sophie usually provides.
To this game. So I hope that Sophie Cunningham is okay. Again, it looks like a rolled ankle, so hopefully it's not too bad. Maybe she's out for a day or so, we'll see. We'll find out an update from the Indiana Fever. But Sophie Cunningham did go out of the game.
But it wasn't just about what Sophie does on the court. Her presence was felt in the locker room, on the sidelines, and in every practice session. Without her vocal leadership and defensive intensity, Indiana's rhythm faltered. It was like a band trying to play without a drummer. Technically, the game still went on, but something was missing. It wasn't just the hustle or the rebounds, it was Sophie's mentality. She's the one who keeps the tempo up. She's the one who gets under opponents' skin, gets into the passing lanes, and challenges every play. Without her, the Fever had to dig deeper to find that spark. And that's what made Sophie so irreplaceable.
That's a positive thing. She was trying to see if she could get back in the game. Obviously, they're not dumb. They're not going to put her back into a preseason game. But she was trying to get back into the game, which is big. If we're honest, that is genuinely big.
As Sophie Cunningham began her rehab process, it became clear that her absence wasn't going to stop her from being a driving force for the team. Sophie doesn't do recovery the way most players would. For her, rehab isn't just a physical process, it's a mental game too. While others might rest, Sophie is likely already studying game film, texting her teammates, and preparing herself for a return that will shake the entire league. This isn't just about healing an injury. It's about Sophie channeling the frustration of being sidelined into a determination to come back stronger. She's been through injuries before, and every time she returns, she comes back with a vengeance. For Sophie, rehab isn't a setback. It's a loading screen, a brief intermission before she enters the next chapter of her game.
But she is okay, all right? It did look like it could have been something worse because of how she landed, and it was more so of an Achilles looking stretch instead of a twisted sideways foot. So that's what scared that's what scared me. But nonetheless, man, it came out that it was a twisted ankle and she was okay, and she was just going to sit out for the rest of the game.
What makes Sophie's mindset so fascinating is the way she approaches every challenge. From her work ethic to her determination to get back on the court, Sophie turns adversity into fuel. She doesn't sulk on the sidelines. Instead, she's plotting her re-entry like a calculated mission, waiting for the moment when she can return and remind everyone why she's the engine that drives this team. The reality of her absence is painful, But the anticipation of her return is something the Fever can't wait for. When Sophie Cunningham steps back onto that court, it won't be a quiet re-entry. It will be a storm.
Oh my God, Sophie's a dog. She just is. She's a competitor. She's versatile, so she allows us to do different things. Like, she plays with such a toughness. She's huge, and she's going to be for us all season long. But what she brings from an energy standpoint, she raises the level of play of everybody around her as soon as she steps foot on the floor. Hell, even on the sideline. I mean, her communication, everything. She's definitely an X factor.
The absence of Sophie Cunningham has created a ripple effect throughout the team. It's not just about basketball, it's about identity. Sophie brings an intangible energy to the floor, and without her, the Fever have had to adjust their culture. Sure, players like Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston are getting the spotlight, but there's something missing. It's not just about making shots or putting up points. It's about the fire Sophie brings, the mental toughness that keeps the team moving when things get tough. Without Sophie, the Fever are forced to dig deeper, searching for that emotional core that keeps them in the game when things start to fall apart. The team is still talented, but they're trying to find their rhythm without their emotional thermostat.
And that's Kiki Arafin, and I got to tell you, here we go with the smiling like you've done. I don't get it. This is the worst part of the WNBA. It is.
And while the Fever continue to adapt, Sophie's absence underscores just how important her presence is. It's not just the physical plays she makes. It's the way she stirs the pot and keeps the team engaged. It's the way she celebrates hustle plays like they're game-winning shots. Sophie is the kind of player who doesn't just add to the team's chemistry, she is the chemistry. Without her, the Fever need to find new ways to adjust their energy, their focus, and their attitude. But the truth is, Sophie's absence doesn't just leave a hole. It challenges the entire team to step up.
I mean, yikes. Kiki, the new Kennedy. A lot of people not happy. Demon Sophie, yeah, she showed up. Look at this. They're celebrating that. Okay. I mean, it's crazy. Here we go again. Here we go again. She's yelling while Kiki's laughing in her face. Never seen a rook have a vet so rattled.
Sophie Cunningham's absence may not be felt in the form of immediate stats like points or assists, but her leadership is irreplaceable. You can't measure the impact she has on the game simply by looking at the box score. Sophie's basketball IQ is elite, and that's something you can't quantify. She reads the game like few others, anticipating plays before they happen and reacting with the precision of someone who's been in the trenches. But her true leadership comes in her ability to stabilize the team's emotional temperature. She's the one who keeps her teammates locked in when the energy starts to drop. When the game feels like it's slipping away, Sophie is the one who gives everyone the push they need to keep going. She's the defensive communicator, the motivator, and the physical presence that makes everyone around her better.
Well, first and foremost, they play so hard. They play with multiple levels of effort. They're both just tough as nails. They have length. They use their length really well. Their activity level on the defensive end and offensively. I mean, they're like mirror images of one another. I mean, the way that they can cut, the way that they can spread the floor, and what they bring on the defensive end of the floor.
On the floor, Sophie's role is not just as a player, but as the heartbeat of the team. Her presence gives the Fever an edge that they wouldn't have without her. It's not just about the hustle plays or the charges she takes. Sophie sets the tone for what it means to compete at a high level. She makes every possession feel like it matters, and when she's not out there, you feel that absence in every moment. Her leadership doesn't just come from being vocal, it comes from leading by example. Sophie shows her teammates what it takes to give 100% on every play, and that's something you can't replace. She's not just a player, she's the glue that holds the team together. And when she's on the court, the entire team plays with a different level of intensity.
You want to make sure that your home court is special to you as a team, but you want to make it hard as heck for other people to come in here to Gamebridge, and they don't want to play here, right? And I think with that, as an energy player, you got to get your fans involved. That's our sixth man right there.
Without Sophie Cunningham on the court, the Indiana Fever's dynamic shifts in ways that aren't always obvious but are deeply felt. Sophie's role is not just about her physical abilities, it's about the presence she brings. She's the player who, When things start to get too comfortable, make sure the game doesn't slip away. Sophie's absence creates a void that the Fever have had to work hard to fill. It's not just about adjusting lineups or strategies. It's about finding that energy that Sophie provides when she's on the floor. Indiana is still a talented team, but without Sophie's fiery attitude, it's harder to match the intensity and emotional energy that she brings. The Fever might still win games, but the sense of urgency, the grit, the heart that Sophie provides, it's something that can't be replaced by just drawing up new plays or tweaking lineups.
We put Sophie in position where she was running the point guard, right? We put Lexi in position at the end of the game where she was running the point guard. And so I'm thankful to have players like that who are comfortable being uncomfortable and doing what's necessary for our team to find success. I mean, that's part of, one of our core values is be selfless. And sometimes that means playing out of position. And I thought they both did a great job of that, but really like their energy and competitive spirit.
When Sophie is sidelined, the Fever are forced to adjust to a new reality. The team has had to shift not just their basketball approach, but their mindset. It's like watching a high-speed chase without a driver. Things might move forward, but it's not quite as smooth or as controlled. Without Sophie's leadership, the Fever's game feels less dangerous, less gritty. And that's a hard reality for the team to accept. Indiana's defense, which thrives on aggression and physicality, suffers without Sophie's ability to lock down opponents, make crucial stops, and set the tone. Her absence forces other players to step up, but it's not easy to replicate the attitude she brings to the court. Sophie's void isn't just about her defensive stops or her ability to hit the floor for loose balls. It's about the attitude and energy that she injects into the team, something that no one else can fully replicate.
I liked our aggressiveness. I liked the fact that we picked up, pretty much 94 feet, that they didn't get anything easy. I mean, it's not often that you come out with a win in games where you shoot 30% from the floor. And I felt like our defense really held, gave us an opportunity to get back in the game, gave us an opportunity to finish the game.
But don't think for a second that Sophie Cunningham is taking her injury lying down. This setback isn't a sign of weakness for Sophie. It's just a delay. Sophie is the kind of player who thrives on adversity, and this injury won't be any different. While most players might see an injury as a chance to rest and recover, Sophie is already working on her return. Rehab for Sophie is a mission, a checklist to complete before she's back on the floor, more dangerous than ever. Sophie doesn't do easy comebacks. She's the kind of player who will return not just to play, but to dominate. Expect her rehab to be as intense as her on-court play. She's likely already watching game footage, studying every play, and preparing herself to get back into the mix with a vengeance. When Sophie returns, it won't be a quiet re-entry. You can expect fireworks. She's not the type of player who eases herself back into the game. When she steps back onto the floor, she's coming in hot, ready to bring the same energy and fire that made her so irreplaceable in the first place. Sophie's return won't be just about filling in for the minutes she missed. It'll be about reclaiming the fire and grit that has defined her career. She'll come back with something to prove, and when she does, you can expect the entire Fever team to feel that shift. Sophie Cunningham is a player who doesn't just change the flow of a game. She changes the culture of a team. And when she's back on the court, Indiana will be ready to take on anyone who stands in their way. Even without Sophie Cunningham, the Fever continue to find ways to compete. They still have talent. Caitlin Clark continues to dazzle. Aaliyah Boston is a force on both ends of the floor, and Kelsey Mitchell brings her own spark. But the adjustment without Sophie hasn't been easy. Indiana's identity has always been built on grit, toughness, and physicality, and that's where Sophie thrives. Without her, the team has had to adjust their approach, not just in terms of basketball strategy, but in terms of their mentality. Sophie's absence forces the Fever to dig deeper, to push harder, and to find ways to generate energy without their emotional leader. But even with Sophie gone, the Fever are determined to keep their momentum going. They've leaned on the leadership of their other players, and while the energy isn't the same, the grit remains. But let's be real, Indiana's chances of going deep in the playoffs depend on Sophie's return. The Fever can adjust, they can adapt, and they can survive without her for a time, but they know they can't win it all without their enforcer. When Sophie comes back, it's not just about returning to the court, it's about returning to the soul of the team. And when she does, expect the Fever to go from good to great once again. As the Fever continue to adjust and adapt, one thing remains clear. Sophie Cunningham's return will be the turning point. Indiana has already proven that they can survive without her, but they also know that their championship aspirations hinge on her. Sophie is the one who gives this team its edge, its fire, and its attitude. While other players might get the spotlight, Sophie Cunningham is the one who keeps the lights on and the floor beneath them steady. Her absence has been a test of the Fever's resilience, but her return will be a statement. When Sophie Cunningham steps back onto that court, it won't just be a game, it will be a rebirth. Sophie doesn't just play basketball, she sets the tone, she brings the energy, and she leads by example. And when she returns, expect the Indiana Fever to rise once again, stronger than ever before.